listening to the Agent Survival Guide podcast, a podcast for today's insurance agents. Informing, educating, empowering, improving the way you do business in an industry that's anything but static. In today's episode, success is that thing that we are all striving for, but it looks different to every insurance agent. For Roy Snarr, that vision started forming at a young age, and we've recently talked about how to build the foundation for success. But that's not the only insight he shared during our conversation. So now I would like to share that interview with you. Roy Snarr, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. I'm excited.
First of all, let's maybe start out with who you are, your agency, your company, what you have going on. Give us a little bit of a background for our listeners.
Sure. I started my insurance career nearly 15 years ago, which is crazy because in just a few years, it'll be half of my life I've had an insurance license. As a kid growing up, I never thought in a million years I'd get into the insurance practice. I kind of, like a lot of agents, fell into it. My mother became disabled when I was about 14, and things were pretty rough. And when I went to school, I wanted to study about finance and insurance and protection, Social Security. I was just so curious how, with our life situation, how one event, which was a car accident, could lead to like just devastation financially. I was like, how does this happen? I started studying, and through school, I started asking people and their parents, like, hey, what do you do for a living? I'm looking to get into financial services. And long story short, I stumbled upon a company, started working with them, went to another company, and then created my own general agency. And it was a very unique experience becoming an entrepreneur for the first time and learning all the trials, the ups and the downs and the struggles, and then also all the nice big wins that we got from time to time. And so over the last 15 years, I've had a passion to help agents become educated on how they can grow their practice, because I wish I had that type of consulting in the very beginning. I didn't. I spent lots of money on different lead sources. I did door knocking to sell life insurance, like everything you could imagine. Wow. Grassroots. But it did teach me quite a bit. So fast forwarding to today, I'm the owner of Roy Snarr Retirement Solutions. We help thousands of people every single year all across the country. We're one of the nation's leading asset protection firms so we do a large volume of annuities, life insurance, and long-term care. I also own annuityproducers.com, which is the only live conference in the nation that helps educate agents, and we host live weekly calls for free just to help agents out. Been fortunate to become a founding agent shareholder in annuity.com, and we help lots of agents all over the country through educational platforms.
Awesome. Well, it's very interesting to me that you sought out the insurance industry. It's funny because I feel like there's two pools. There's kind of, the ones that we sort of stumble into it. Maybe we, at least from my experience, got into it because I was looking for something a little bit more stable than radio. And it just seemed like a place where it would be stable, but also that you would have that experience of helping people. So it's kind of interesting to me that you had the experience that you sought out the industry, but you also have that piece there that, you're in this because of what happened personally with what you experienced with your mother. And you want to also pass that forward and kind of help others, either if they're in the same situation or the people starting out in the industry, because it's tough. I haven't been licensed for 15 years. I've only been licensed for about a year. And that's a very interesting experience to go through that. But you mentioned a little bit about where you got your start and what the impetus was to get to where you are now. What exactly is your specific area of focus?
Well, today it's mainly annuities and asset-based long-term care. We still do a large volume of life insurance just vicariously through helping clients with annuities and long-term care, but it's not our focus. In the very beginning, like a lot of agents, I started off with mortgage protection and final expense. I mean, if I could go back in time, I probably would have started with Medicare to build up a base, but I didn't know any difference then. And a lot of agents, they just want to get right into the annuity space, which is a great concept, but you have to have a good foundation to become successful in the annuity space. And so I started just door knocking, buying flyers, buying online leads when they were coming out on final expense and mortgage protection. That was my whole foundation. And then I slowly worked my way into pension protection planning and pension maximization planning. I got into some school districts. And then I started realizing, hey, look, you have a 403B. I have access with my license to help you with a better one potentially. So then I started rolling over. That was my first taste of annuity sales. And I was like, wow, I hope this client preserved their retirement and not charge them a fee, and they're not paying any fees. And I earned the same amount of compensation that I would have if I sold 10 final expense policies or 5 mortgage protection policies, and I didn't have to deal with underwriting. This is amazing. Haven't I been doing this my whole life? So that was a whole other learning curve that took me a number of years to really get good at, because it takes time. But that's how we've slowly developed in becoming a leader in the annuity space and asset-based long-term care.
Okay. Very cool to hear how that progression works, because I feel like the more I talk to different agents, a lot of people seem to have that experience that when they first start out, I wish somebody would have been there to sort of pave the path for me or give me some kind of roadmap as far as where I'm supposed to go, what I'm supposed to do, all of that. So kind of on that note, what advice do you have for someone who is just starting out, maybe just looking at the insurance industry as a whole? What would you tell them?
So here's what I would do. I would first find out what their passion is, because some people absolutely love healthcare. They love Medicare, under 65 health insurance. And that's awesome. That's a huge need. You can become very successful in that marketplace. Or maybe they're more of the life insurance, final expense, mortgage protection. So let's say that they're more the life insurance side of things. I would first, if I was starting over again, and what we tell all of the agents that we work with, you have to have a foundation of insurance, get some general basics, and also learn the language of insurance and how to overcome objections, how to handle your confidence being beat up all the time. It's much less expensive and easier to start off with final expense or mortgage protection life insurance. Get a small foundation there, right? Get your skin tough, learn some ins and outs, get the basics of how insurance works and asset protection. And then from that point, slowly progress yourself up into getting into the annuity space, because to achieve true financial freedom, the fastest way to do it is to become an annuity expert, because there's lots of opportunities there. We have a huge demographic wave that's in our favor for annuities, which is the senior marketplace. But in order to get in front of seniors, right, you're not going to be buying mortgage protection or final expense per se. Now, final expense is generally targeted to the older folks, but it's also lower income with lower assets, which is not ideal for the annuity or asset-based LTC space. But if you do workshops, if I could do anything, if I could change anything about my past, it would be to do more workshops. I did not start doing seminars until about 5 years ago. And if I would have done them sooner, we would have been even further ahead, because that is the number one way to get in front of people and to meet with people and to have instant credibility and leverage. And when those people meet with you, they want to meet with you, because our workshop program, we don't buy dinners. We do it at libraries and community colleges. And then you pick a topic such as Social Security or Medicare. Those are the top 2 drawing topics out there. And it does require the agent to actually have some foundation, some fundamentals about Social Security and about Medicare, but just take the time, study it. I mean, with YouTube University, it doesn't take that much time. And then you can host your own workshop. And then when they come in, you help them with Social Security, Medicare planning. And then you say, oh, hey, by the way, these are some things that these governmental systems don't cover, which is long-term care and lifetime income. And now you're opening the door up to annuities instead of just going straight to somebody saying, hey, you want to buy an annuity? Yeah, that's probably not going to work that well.
Right. We don't have, annuity dealerships out there that we like going to buy a car or anything like that. But what I like that you pointed out here, and I think that this is something that when I see videos or anything on YouTube with a lot of the podcasts or literature that's out there for some of the agents that are just starting out, I see a lot of there's a monetary value, get this much in like this amount of time. I love that you are being realistic and saying, there is a path that you grow in this. You don't just start out at this high level here. It is, start out, get your feet wet, start with this, get your education here, and then work your way up to this point where you're able to get into these conversations you need to build up that foundation of like the relationship before you get into that conversation, and the trust for someone to be able to hand you that amount of money, because it is something that they're saving to be able to have for retirement should they need it in the future, anything like that. That's a big ask. And you do need to develop that relationship in order to get that trust and to be able to have somebody say, okay, I trust you with my nest egg. So,
exactly. It's the difference between a transactional sale and a relationship sale, because like take Medicare, for example. Let's be real. You're not selling Medicare. You're helping people make a choice that they have to make. You're helping them enroll into a Medicare. And same thing with final expense or mortgage protection. It's generally a transaction sale. Hey, look, you have X amount of mortgage. You need X amount of life insurance. It takes X amount of premium. Thank you. See you later, right? Whereas with an annuity, it takes multiple meetings, relationships. It takes an enormous amount of education in order to be able to explain the value of these types of plans. And so it's a much longer sales curve that requires a relationship building. And one of the biggest things that we trade on is storytelling. You need to develop your own story, your why you do this business, right? Now, I don't need to sit down and share my entire life story with someone and talk about all these different analogies and metaphors if I'm just helping them with a $50 a month final expense plan. That's not really time worthy. But if I'm going to be helping somebody reposition a portion of their entire life savings and they just met me and it's into a concept that they're unaware of, it's going to take some time and foundation. And this is where the storytelling comes in and the relationship building with the client. Like our average client that comes to see us, it takes about 2 to 3 months before we're able to actually put a plan together for them and implement it, because it takes time. And a lot of agents are short-sighted. And to your point, on YouTube or Instagram, you get all these yahoos on there like, oh, I just got my license and I made 6 figures in 3 weeks. Okay, sure, because your dad gave you money. But if you're like those people in the real world, like it took me over 5 years to hit 6 figures. Over 5 years. Like maybe I'm a slow starter, but it was just hard for me. And then I didn't even hit the multi-7-figure mark until like 10 years into the practice. I mean, and I share that because agents are so short-sighted on how long it actually takes to build a foundation. I mean, there were times where I was literally sleeping in my truck. I would sit at Starbucks waiting for people to walk in and then have them give me their opinion on a marketing piece, which would be about life insurance. And if I got 10 people that would look at it, one of those 10 would be like, how does this work? I get a lead. I get 10 of those. I could maybe get a sale. So it was very rough grassroots in the beginning, but I hung in. And what we tell agents is like, look, you don't have to be that smart to be in this business. Like, I'm not an engineer. I'm a college dropout, but I'm determined and I care about people. And I've learned how to share my story to relate to them. And I've become successful based on those factors. And any agent can do that. They just have to hang in there and give themselves a good 10-year window and be, consistent throughout those 10 years.
Right. This is something that you get into to build a career. I would not ever suggest that this is a job. That is kind of like the distinction.
It is a lifestyle.
Yes, it is. Very much so.
Now, that phone rings on Christmas morning and your kids are opening presents, but it's $1 million rollover. You're going to answer the phone. Like, it's just, it's a part of this business.
Right. So we talked a little bit about, for the people just getting started, what that looks like. What if there is someone who's already in the insurance industry, depending on the product they're selling, they might be selling Medicare, they might be selling some of those P&C products that you suggested starting out, or maybe even doing the mortgage insurance and doing the final expense. How can they take what they're already doing and kind of elevate their efforts and maybe try out this space?
Well, what's really nice is like if they already have like an active Medicare book, P&C book, or even just a general life insurance book, they can reduce their cost dramatically because they don't have to purchase a whole bunch of new leads or marketing systems. They already have an active client base. And so all they have to do is cross-market into their client base. And to save face, because let's take a Medicare agency, because we work with a lot of them. They say, well, I'm kind of reluctant to tell all my clients that, oh, now, by the way, we have long-term care, but I should have been helping with them before. I simply just didn't know. I said, well, the best way to do that is to say, hey, we've opened up a new division within our company to help service our clients and well-round everything, to explain to you what Medicare doesn't cover. right?
Mm-hmm.
That's the biggest draw. Hey, this is what your life insurance policy won't cover. This is what your Social Security won't do. This is what Medicare does not cover. Are you interested in learning about the gaps in the policies? Yes, I totally am, because all the agents, all they ever do is sell, oh, look at this death benefit, this living benefit rider. Okay, let's talk about what it doesn't do and see if that's a challenge for them. See if they have any actual stories themselves of going through a long-term care event or a market correction or a passing of a loved one. And how now that you've established the problem and that there's a need, then you come in with the solution and you offer people multiple different options. And that's how you get the business. So if they already have a pre-existing book, they just need to buff up on a few ways to introduce this new division of their firm. And then they themselves or somebody within their office needs to become a product expert in that. So if I have a Medicare agency and they want to cross-sell long-term care, either that agency owner or the individual agent within that agency has to become a product expert on long-term care. And it doesn't take long. I mean, within a week, just calling these carriers, getting all the information, you can get the foundation. And then that person just simply reaches out. Hey, by the way, hey, Susie, just want to say hi. Thank you for your Medicare business. By the way, there's some things that your plan doesn't cover. I'd like to go over those options with you just so that you're aware. We're just doing our job here to help best serve you. Sure. What does it not cover? And then you talk about long-term care and say, have you ever experienced it? Okay, what's your health like? What kind of assets do you have that can act like long-term care? And then you're already doing a financial fact finder. Say, well, let us work on this and show you a couple of solutions, and that may be of value to you. Okay, cool. That's it. The hard part is getting agents to do it. In this industry, agents are inherently lazy. And I get it, right? I mean, you are your own boss. It's like if they actually were to research and get some basic foundation and then implement it, like we have literally seen multiple agencies and hundreds of agents actually start putting this together. And I give it away for free. I have all these free scripts that agents can download. Then they're starting to earn multiple six-figure incomes now because they're just simply asking questions.
Right. I think probably one of the biggest things that I've experienced in just talking with people, there are times that we get inside our heads thinking that we're projecting what the other person is going to say or how they're going to react, what they're going to come back with. And the real truth of the matter is your client doesn't know what they don't know. And it depends on how you bring it up to them. Sure, if you bring it up to them as, hey, guess what? I haven't been selling this. I should have been selling it, but now I am. Hey, want to buy it? No, they probably aren't going to want to buy it. But when you frame it as what it actually is and you turn it into, well, here's the solution. We're really excited about this. You know, we just added this to our portfolio. Would love to talk with you about this new thing that we're offering. Sure. Especially if they are considering you as their trusted person that they go to with all of their insurance needs, or you've helped them with other things. Why wouldn't they want to hear what you've got to say about something? So I think that's a big thing too, is getting into the mindset and the idea that you need to reframe the negativity. And we all have it. We all have that little voice in there that's going to try and tell us that, you know, no, you can't. No, it's not going to work. But the thing is, it's what if it does? What if it does? What if you pitch it and it goes amazingly well? And what if they buy? What then? How would you see your practice grow differently? So I'm kind of curious, do you have a specific kind of mindset or mantra that you live by? Because you kind of sound very positive and upbeat when you're talking about this stuff. And I also like how you say that you have all of these materials and resources for free that agents can utilize.
Yeah, because, you know, there's a lot of information out there and a lot of people acting like gurus and selling courses. Nothing wrong with that, but it's like, if you look at the people pushing those products, oftentimes they're not full-time in the business. They haven't written business for years. They don't necessarily know what it's like to live in the trenches, whereas we do. We just literally share all of our experiences, kind of like the Gary Vaynerchuk model. We just give it all away for free, and then naturally people come to us, right? So that's our philosophy there. But the other thing to really think about is there's a guilt factor here. There's two levels of this guilt. The first level is, let's say you have a book of business, and let's just take Medicare or life insurance, doesn't matter. But let's say over the course of your career, you have 1,000 clients and 50 to 70% of them need long-term care, and you never brought it up to them. And then they go into an event and their assets are completely being liquidated and their kids are calling you saying, hey, did you help mom and dad with this? Oh, no, I didn't. I was too lazy, didn't care, didn't want to research it. I mean, that should bother agents on a personal level. Like regardless if I'm going to actually sell it, I need to at least educate them on what it's not, just so that they know, because I have an inherent responsibility. They have trust in me. I need to at least explain this to them. Whether or not they buy, you can't control that. But by you putting it up is so powerful. So that's number one. Number two is what really drives me is I think about it this way. I go, okay, if I'm 85 in my rocking chair on my property, drinking whiskey, am I going to have any regrets in life? Like, you know what? If I would have just done that, oh man, things would have been so much different. My kids would have been better off. And then I think about, like, if I ever have that feeling, I was like, wow, I'm going to feel terrible, because what I can't not make up is time. I can always make more money. I can't make up more time. And the only thing I can't control if you buy a policy from me, but what I can control is my output. And so how do I generate enough output and to help enough people that I can achieve all those goals for my family personally, so I don't have that regret in the future? So basically, the drivers are regret drivers. So that's one thing an agent needs to ask themselves. And not everyone is built the same way, right?
Right.
There's some crazy mindsets I put myself into. It's like, okay, if I don't achieve this goal, and somebody told me I'd never see my wife or my mom or kids again, like, would I be able to accomplish this goal, right? If somebody had a gun to my head and said, if you don't sell 5 policies this month, we're going to shoot you. Could I do it? Yeah, I could do it. I would scramble. I'd make it happen, right? But it's so easy to get content and lazy in this business because you don't have a boss other than yourself. So creating self-motivation is so powerful. And some people, driver is the guilt factor, which it is for me. Other people, it could be other topics. But if I was an agent, I would try to self-discover that and what actually is going to push you.
I like that a lot. That's a little twist on that I've never really thought about before, is taking it from a mindset and a mantra to an actual motivator that's going to help you get stuff done. So yeah, that's very interesting. And I think you brought up some really great points of things that agents can honestly think about and hopefully start their thinking process and come up with that for themselves.
Right. I mean, most agents that call us are like, hey, look, I'm having struggles. I'm trying to get some sales in. The first thing I ask them is, how many phone calls did you make the last 7 days? Oh, I don't know, like 10. Not going to work, right? Because your output needs to be much greater. You have to make more phone calls, do more workshops, buy more marketing material. You have to get out in front of more people, because the way that we've done it, we've built out a system where my calendar is completely booked out for like 3 weeks right now. And there's 5 appointments a day in person with people I've never sat face to face with. And I've been able to accomplish that by doing an enormous amount of output. And I know that out of all these people, I'm not going to be able to get a policy from everyone. But I'm also not worried, because I know that, hey, look, even if just 1 in 15 decide to do it, I have no stress or worries, because it'll all make up for itself. And having that relaxed state of mind also helps, because if agents don't have that type of activity, then they get commission breath and they get kind of pushy with people. And we don't want that either. And I've been there, so I know what it's like, but it's a fine balance. But if you have enough people to get in front of, it totally reduces your stress. And if somebody says, you know what, I have to think about it, Sarah. Okay, no problem at all. Call me when you're ready. I mean, that's literally what we do. We don't bother or pester people or follow up. If they don't want to do it right now, no problem. We're here for you. And then they come back a couple of years later and we help them.
So we've talked a little bit about the agent side of everything and the advice that you have to give people. One of the things I enjoy sharing, whether people that listen enjoy it or not, is some of the media that I consume, because as you said, there is so much out there, but I love hearing what other people are reading, watching, or listening to that kind of gets them in that mindset or mind frame as well. So is there anything recently that you have consumed that has been beneficial to your business or kind of like your business process?
Yeah, I would say on 2 levels. The first level is just general news media. So what I do is I have filters on Google, and agents to do this, especially if you're in the boomer marketplace. I have triggers for Medicare news and Social Security news, because now I have a reason to call somebody. Not like, hey, just checking in to say hi. By the way, you want to buy something? It's more like, hey, look, I found some value. So a prime example of this is Social Security's elimination of the WEP and GPO penalties. Massive traction. Like, we are filling up our workshops where I'm spending $1,000 and getting 20 to 30 people in a workshop right now.
Wow.
And it's amazing because there's so much news out there. So if you stay current on news that's relevant to your industry specifically, it will really, really, really help you. Other news that has encouraged us to keep ever adapting and changing our models is you should go out and seek people that are more successful than you. And that's what I do. I talk to people that have 10 times the agency size or even greater than that. I said, okay, if you were in my position, what would you do? Here's what we're doing. I have a lot of agents that call me. I give free time to help them out. And a lot of these other people, they'll do the very same thing. So you could reach out to other people or even your upline, or if you're with a particular IMO, just say, hey, look, who's the number one guy that you have? You don't have to say names. What are they doing? Right? And learn how they're doing it. And that's what we've literally done. I probably once every other month, I reach out and I say, hey, look, how are you doing this? This is the challenges that I have so we can learn. Because I think this industry, in my opinion, is really changing. In the past, it was like super secretive. Nobody wants to say or share anything. It's like, okay, you live in Florida. Why do I care? I'm in Texas. Like, I'm not going to steal your plans. But now it's much more open and people are willing to work together and help them out. And so that's the main thing I would say to agents that really want to change the game and become something huge in this industry and build a name for themselves, is to reach out to people that are more successful and then see how they've done it. And then you get 3 or 4 different models. That's what I do. And I pick and choose the best parts of each one. And I do what I feel is best for our model.
Interesting that you say about reading the news, because I think I came across an article last night that was, you know, we had this huge statistic for the longest time. However many people are aging into Medicare because of the baby boomer generation. And now what they're finding is that when it comes to nursing home care, there are wait lists. And that never was a thing before, because you have this huge generation that before you had plenty of space available and now you have wait lists. So that's kind of another thing to think about. Like, one thing I try and stress is with the news that we consume, what do you do with that? How do you use it? Well, you have newsletters that you can send out, and that can be the thing that engages a person in a conversation. Do you have a plan? What is your plan? Is your plan to go in a nursing home if you have an event? Because that is not a plan. And that might not work out for you depending on what things look like in your area and what kind of coverage you have. Or, you know, if there are a lot of people that think that LTC is covered through a Medicare plan, it is not. And that's where, you know, comes in what you were saying about having holes in your coverage. But I think the more you consume the news and the more that you're reading and kind of swapping these ideas with other people, light bulbs start going off.
They do. I mean, if you think about it, look at the opportunity. We have more people turning 65 last year and this year than ever before in history. And then if you just look at the low end statistic of 50% needing LTC and the high end statistic of 70%, even just say 50. So half of these people are going to need long-term care. Medicare is not going to cover it. Medicaid qualifications, they do vary by state, but just call your local state Medicaid office, see what the wait list is. Like you said, like in Texas here, at one point it was 6 months just to even get reviewed. What do you do in the meantime? And so people have this notion like, well, I'm going to self-insure. Well, you can do it 2 ways. One, through an insurance company that's leveraged and tax advantaged, or do it with your own assets that's unguaranteed, not leveraged, and not tax advantaged. So there's ways to do it. And think about the opportunity at hand. We have this golden time frame, especially with people who live in like California, because California may indeed mimic what Washington has done, making it a actual rule that you have long-term care in order to avoid an additional tax. There's so many positive headwinds. And with interest rate environment, asset-based LTC planning becoming very popular, all the great guarantees with it, agents are just, they're not taking advantage of this, most of them. And, you know, they should be, because this is a huge opportunity. And all you have to do, just like you said, just read an article or two and you'll become more educated. 99% of all financial advisors and agents.
Right, right. Well, we've gotten through a lot in our chat here today, but one thing that I do always like to do is, if you have something going on right now that you'd like to shout out here on the show, maybe an action that people can take if they're looking for their next thing, what do you have going on right now?
I would encourage agents to go to annuityproducers.com and join our free Thursday calls. Like coming up here in a few minutes, we have a free call. It's a Zoom call every Thursday. We get 80 to 100 agents a week on there. There's no contracts required, no sales pitches. It's literally me doing case designs on live cases that I'm working throughout the week. And we help share with them, these are the objections I'm having. This is the wins that we have, the losses, everything. And we share different marketing ideas. We have guest speakers on there of other agents. So it's a really fun community. And then we also have our live annual conference that's held here in Austin, Texas every year. where it's a 2-day annuity bootcamp training. And what makes us different is that there's no rah-rah, no motivation talks. You can get plenty of that on YouTube. This is just pure hardcore training for like 12 hours a day. So It's intensive. But yeah, that's what I would say. I encourage agents to check out annuityproducers.com. It's just an educational platform. That's all it is.
Okay. Very cool.
Yeah,
well, it has been great talking with you today. I really appreciate you joining us here. And there's a lot of good nuggets that we got to here. So just want to say thank you again for your time. And
thank you. It's fun. I look forward to having y'all on our show.
Yeah, absolutely. Is there anything that you want to add on?
Well, the last thing I would say is like, if you're an agent in this space and you're not getting the level of success that you feel that you deserve, just hang in there. I mean, it sounds cliche, and don't get caught up on other people talking about how much money they're making in a very short time frame. A lot of it is BS, okay? Or it was handed to them. Like in all reality, if you're going to do this grassroots and you have zero connections, that's what I had. I had zero connections. I moved to a new city, didn't know anybody, and I started from scratch. So, and I'm not that smart. I'm just determined. And so anyone can do it, and just hang in there. And just, you have to ask yourself, is this really a career I want to do? Because it's not for everyone. But if it is, then it's going to be a lifestyle, and your wife or your husband and your kids have to understand that. And then you can achieve whatever you want to, because the ceiling is truly unlimited here in the insurance space.
Special thanks again to Roy Snarr for the interview. We will have the links to find him online, as well as the resources he mentioned in the episode notes. Thanks so much for listening. We will see you next episode. The Agent Survival Guide podcast is a production of Ritter Insurance Marketing, an integrity company. Special thanks to our guest, Roy Snarr. Recording and production by me, Sarah Ruppel. Podcast designed by Urban Rivera. Artwork by Tina Lamoureux. Follow along with our show wherever you like to listen. Already following? Rate and review our show on Apple or Spotify.